With the 2025 General Assembly session wrapped up for the majority of the House of Delegates members, focus now shifts to the campaign trail as all 100 seats are up for election this year. That, plus 3 statewide offices of governor, lieutenant governor, and attorney general, as Virginia has what are known as off-year elections, meaning voters head to the polls every single year.
I just think it's something we need to look at.
It's a tradition that dates back to the 1850s and 60s when the state updated its constitution, but Democratic State Senator Scott Surville passed a bill to create a committee to look at moving those off or odd year elections to sync up with the federal elections that happen on even years.
I think voters have a lot of fatigue from elections in Virginia. We seem to have elections every single year.
Surville says there could be several benefits, including better voter turnout. Data from the Department of Elections shows turnout in the year after the presidential elections was on average 25% lower.
It's also cost voters a lot of money to have elections every year, and we could save a lot of taxpayer expense.
Surville adds it's also expensive for lawmakers and political parties. Virginia Public Access Project data shows spending in the governor's race has gone from over $50 million in 2001 to over $141 million in the 2021 cycle. Similar trends, although different dollar amounts for the House and Senate races.
By not being on the federal cycle, creates the need to raise a lot more money than otherwise because we can't piggyback on the operations by a congressional candidate or a presidential campaign.
I think Virginia has a great tradition of being an off-year election.
But Republican State Senator Mark Peake says if you want to save money on elections, get rid of the early voting days expansion Democrats passed several years ago.
Early voting, 45 days for primaries and general elections, it does cost a lot of money.
Peake adds by having state elections on off years, it allows for a more focused campaign, but Surville disagrees.
Go into the same cycle as the federal election. We're always going to be secondary to what's going on at the federal level.
I think people are able to differentiate between the two, and from my perspective, when more people are voting, that's better for everybody.
Surville says if the switch were to happen, it could take up to 8 years because of the complexities in doing so, meaning the committee also has to answer the question,
Whether the juice is worth the squeeze and all that.
Now, Surville says the commission members will be appointed sometime in March with a first meeting to follow in April, and their report is due to the General Assembly ahead of its 2027 session. At the state capitol, Cameron Thompson, CBS 6 News.